What is going on? Welcome back to the Jiu-Jitsu Outlet Podcast. I'm sitting down with my friend Patrick Bolanos, the host of the Working for a Dream podcast, the CEO of Trailer King Builders, and a mega entrepreneur. I mean, that's honestly like how I think about guys like you, man. Like you're the real deal, as they say. You're someone who's running a massive business. You have actual employees versus a lot of people on the internet these days who don't actually have a team. You know, they might be quote unquote entrepreneurs, but they don't necessarily have an actual company. Whereas you're a guy who's actually, putting food on the table for families. And recently, I know you got into training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And man, I just want to hear about, what has it done for you just in the time that you've been training? How do you feel that training in jiu-jitsu has helped you as an entrepreneur?
Paul, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate that you would think that I am that awesome. I'm really not, but I really appreciate those kind words, man. It's been a while since we jammed. And, I started jiu-jitsu 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago. I actually did it first because I wanted to get my kids to learn a little self-defense, right? To have a little bit of that self-defense to take to school so that, they don't have to put up with bullying and have a little bit of confidence going in to school. And so I made a commitment and I asked them to do jiu-jitsu for 1 full year and I would do it with them. That was previous pandemic. That was 2018 to 2019. And then they decided after 1 year going twice a week for 1 year that they did not want to pursue their jiu-jitsu career. So I left jiu-jitsu for a while. The pandemic hit. The gym where I was a member shut down. And then I came back as soon as it opened because one thing that I learned from the pandemic was you have to do shit that's hard and uncomfortable to be ready for anything, right? Nobody knew what was going to happen in 2020. Nobody knew that, they were going to shut down the entire world. Nobody knew that we would have to become warriors pretty much just to make it, right? We had no clue what was going to happen. So I went back to the gym. I went back to Revolution Dojo where I train. And it's helped me so much, not only in, learning how to have a little bit of self-defense here and there, but mentally be prepared every day for the things that you're going to face on a daily basis, right? When you're on the mats and you're doing, it would make me very uncomfortable, Paul. So uncomfortable that I did not want to do it, right? Very uncomfortable. I did not want to go. It was something that my brain would keep telling me, stop it. Don't bring me here. Get me out of this position, this chokehold as a white belt that other white belts are putting me in, let alone the blue belts, purple belts, and, so on and so forth. And so over time, I began to fall in love with it because I would get in these positions and have to, become present and focus on my breathing, become present and focus on, defending a position, finding ways to not let that shit happen. So something our professor would say all the time, if you're in that position, you fucked up 5 times before you got there. Right. So learning not to fuck up 1 time and then learning not to fuck up 5 times in a row. So jiu-jitsu for me is a lifestyle, and it's a way that I think a lot of people could benefit from mentally, just to get stronger in the brain every single day, let alone, the benefits of learning how to fight and physically getting better and looking better because you're going to get lean because you burn a lot of calories when you're on the mats. All that's awesome. But the mental game that it brings for me is, it's priceless.
Man, thanks for breaking that down. I just want to linger a little bit longer on this because I think you brought up a great parallel here about talking about, on the one hand, COVID, right? When COVID hit and the economy was looking like it was basically kind of shutting down. And well, not basically, it did shut down.
They shut it down, bro.
Yeah,
They shut it down.
Crazy. And so,
Yeah.
and how would you say that would compare to the feeling that you have when you are in that terrible position in jiu-jitsu? Like, what are the, I guess, what are the similarities between, you know, how you might be feeling in those different, in
Well,
those,
they're
they seem like they're very different things, right? But like, how are they similar?
definitely. I would say that, you know, they're both very uncomfortable, right? You are going to be uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable not to know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's uncomfortable to know, you know, in a position in jiu-jitsu, you don't know, you know, what could happen next if you do this or you do that, or you get into a bad position and you find yourself in a place where you can't get out of, right? And you have to control your breath and you have to think about, okay, how do I get this effing guy off of me, right? How do I get the pandemic off of me? How do I focus on the things that will make me better every day so that I can focus on the things that I can control, right? There's things that you can't control in jiu-jitsu either. You can't control a guy that's 250 pounds versus your 200-pound frame, right? You focus on your breathing. You focus on the things that you can control. You focus on your position. In business, it's the same. You focus on the things you can control. The only thing that I could control when the pandemic was getting started was how we were going to operate every single day. One of the first things we did when they told everybody to shut down was we went directly to the health department and we said, we want to be classified as an essential business. What do we need to do? We literally drove from our shop to the health department to go get that designation. And they asked us what we did. We told them what we did. We built food trucks and they said, yes, you're an essential business. Here's a piece of paper. Make sure all your employees drive around with this piece of paper in their truck or vehicle, and you guys are good to go. We didn't shut down one day, bro.
That's awesome, man. And that's the kind of mentality that you get from jiu-jitsu. Like, this is something that has come up before on the podcast, is that jiu-jitsu teaches that there's always a solution. Like, no matter where you are, there's a counter to every move. Like you brought up the 250-pound guy on top of you. Like, your professor would be able to get out of there, right? Like, if that 250 guy, if he's on top of your professor, he's probably going to get out.
Oh,
like,
he's going to smash a 250. Yeah.
Right.
He's 180. He's going to he's going to smash everybody.
So it just goes to show you, like, I think about that, or to take the best in the world, Gordon Ryan. Gordon Ryan is going to get out of just about everything. Like, he gets out of everything I see him put in, right? So it's like there's always that solution. And how are you applying that these days? Kind of that mentality. Like, is there anything that you're like trying to tackle right now that you feel like, oh man, thank God for my jiu-jitsu training. It really prepared me for this thing.
Everything, bro. Everything in life, bro. Everything in life, bro. We got lawsuits. We've got supply chain issues. We have, delays in materials. We have cash flow situations. We have family things we need to be at. There's a lot of things going on in the world, man. They're just throwing too much shit at everybody. Inflation, right? You got everything right now. If you sit at home and watch CNN all day, it's the end of the world, bro. We're at the brink of a nuclear war, supposedly, right? So allegedly. There's a lot of stuff out there that allegedly that could keep you from taking action. So I stay away from that stuff. And that's why I go to the gym, and that's why I do my cold plunges, and that's why I do jiu-jitsu. It keeps me occupied, it keeps me healthy, it keeps my mind clear. And I focus on the things that I can control. And so, one of the things I love about jiu-jitsu is even and the post that you alluded to earlier before we got on, my professor is a 4th degree black belt. He may be a 5th degree now. And he's always learning something new. If he can find something new in this sport, in this martial art, then I should definitely find something new every single day. And that's how I compare it. And that's how I use it in my life. And that's how I go out there and learn new things, right? And I go out and find people like yourself. You were a purple belt back in the day when we first met. I don't know where you're at now, but I know that you train hard. I can tell by the ears. And
I try.
And all I want to do is learn from somebody like you. I want to learn what you do to get better and apply those things in my life. And it's the same thing in jiu-jitsu. So when I go to the mats, I'm looking to learn from the white belts that have been here longer than me, from the blue belts, from the purple belts, I'm trying to consume as much as I can just to learn and get better.
I love that. It's the always a white belt mentality. And I mean, in business, that takes over everything. Like every single high level entrepreneur that I know, they read a lot. Like they read like crazy. They're always talking about books. I remember at the mastermind we went to, you've got books actually in this picture. Like you've got a stack of, what is that? Like 7 books just within arm's reach.
Books, bro. I got books all over the place.
I remember at the mastermind that we went to in Florida, I asked you briefly, me and Zach, we were like, hey man, what are, a couple books you recommend? You listed off like 20 or something. I was like, oh yeah, it's quite a bit. You know what I mean? Every single high level dude I know, they read a lot, like a lot. It's not just a casual. Yeah. It's like it's an obsession with learning.
So I make it a habit to read. Yeah, I make it a habit to read every day. But I also use Audible. Audible is a great tool if you don't use Audible. Like I'm in the car 2 hours a day. I could spend my time listening to music or to my own thoughts, because when you're driving, you know what happens when you're driving. You go into your subconscious mind and you start, what I do is listen to podcasts and audiobooks. I'm actually listening to the audio. Now I don't know why, but I'm getting to the habit of buying the book that I'm listening to on the Audible at the same time, so I can make notes. Right now I'm listening to the Sales Acceleration Formula. Imagine if a company, that we do well, don't feel like I can learn something new. I don't think I'd be able to add value for our clients if I didn't have this aggressive learning mentality. And, that differentiates a lot of people from being average. I'm not going to say I'm awesome or I'm the best, or because I'm learning every single day, but at least I recognize that there's always room for improvement. And that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do, because there's always room to get better. And it's not something I used to think often, Paul. I've only been on this journey like 4 or 5 years. This was not the typical Patrick. I would waste time watching fantasy football or football games and baseball games and TV, and be overweight and not practice any martial art or not practice any sport at all. Not even go to the gym. Wouldn't wake up early, and everything around me was suffering. The people around me weren't the best. And it showed physically. I was overweight, 240, 250 pounds. So,
man, that's amazing. You've transformed. You've transformed, man. That's incredible. What has that done for your mental health? I want to get into this a little bit. Like, can you tell us about what was your mental health like in this time that you're describing, where you were overweight, you were consuming stuff that was not serving you, versus who you are today?
So comparing myself today versus then, my mental health, I've never really thought of it as my mental health, right? I don't know why I have this different definition for mental health. I don't know. It feels like, but I think we can use that term. But mentally, I was asleep. I was asleep at the wheel, bro. I was going through life, just going through the motions. And the relationships around me were suffering. The relationships I had were not the best. They, I would consume things that I should not be consuming. And so all that shit started to pile on, started to add up, so I accumulated bad debts. I accumulated bad relationships. My relationship with my wife at home was not the best. The relationship with my kids was off. Like my daughter today, if you ask her, she's 16, and we have fluid conversations. I love her. She's my oldest, and she's 16. My younger kids, my two youngest kids are getting the best version of myself now. My two older kids got half and half. They got the worst version of myself and the best version of myself. And so I'm grateful that I have had the opportunity to change and to show them that you can do things when you start focusing on your mindset, on your mental health. So my mindset is always focused on getting better, reading the books, getting around people like yourself, getting around people like Zach, getting around people that are doing more things than I am, reading the books, listening to the podcasts, and doing uncomfortable shit like jiu-jitsu.
I love that, man. And I think that it's super important what you're talking about here. And I think that, like, for me personally, mental health does include everything that you're talking about here, because I mean, I'm no freaking clinical psychologist, but by the sounds of it, I would hedge a bet that you might have been a bit depressed when you were 250 and consuming stuff that you weren't into and stuff like that. Like, that'd be my best guess. You're probably feeling a bit more depressed than you were today. You know what I mean? Like, I think that, like,
yeah, sitting on your ass at home is called depression.
A lot of times.
Not doing shit.
I've been there too, man. That's how I spent most of my childhood, honestly, was dealing with depression, dealing with that kind of stuff, and just feeling like you just can't. It's like a lethargy, it's like you're and one of my favorite philosophers, Eliphas Levi, he says that lethargy is the beginning of death. That when you're lethargic and you're depressed, you're actually close to death, because death is not doing shit, right? You're dead. You're not moving, versus where you are now, you're alive. You're fully alive. You're fully present. You're fully, you're the opposite of lethargy, that's amazing.
What's the name of that philosopher?
Eliphas Levi. I'll send you
How
him. Elipashas, and then Levi, Levi. But amazing guy. He's dead now. He is alive in like the 1800s. But amazing guy. But yeah, it's hey, could you give me 1 second? My phone is going off. I'm gonna pause this real quick. I just want to make sure it's not my wife. Give me 1 second.
Yep, no worries. What's up, everybody? So I'm live on a podcast with my friend Paul Tuglusolo. He's a friend of mine that we met a year and a half ago. So thanks for tuning in.
It was actually an alarm clock telling me about our interview that was originally going to be at 1:30, and forgot to turn it off because we're doing it now. But I'll just edit this part out.
Nice.
Thanks to the power of audio editing. But man, so I want to get into this. I want to just I had a question that I wanted to ask you about. I know you're a big fan of baseball. I know that a big part of your mission is helping empower more people to become professional athletes, specifically in baseball. And something you talk about on your show a lot. And I just want to ask you, like, how do you think a sport like baseball compares to something like jiu-jitsu? Like, I guess worded differently, do you think that someone can get the same lessons from something like baseball? Or would you say to that baseball athlete, hey, you might want to also sign up for jiu-jitsu because otherwise you're going to be missing out on something? Like, do you think, you know what I mean? Like, how do those two compare? Do you think that the benefits are the same, or they're two different things completely?
Yeah, of course. I think any sport will help your mental health or your mindset. Any sport requires a lot of discipline and a lot of training if you want to be the best, if you want to play at a high level. Baseball, the same. Baseball is probably one of the hardest sports to play. It is one of the most, they say that baseball is it's a sport where, especially the hitting aspect of it, it's a failure sport. If you go up to bat 10 times and you get 3 hits, you batting 300, and if you bat 300 for the remainder of your career, you might be a Hall of Famer. But you failed 7 times prior to that. You only succeeded 3 out of 10. People that hit 250. I think this guy, Aaron Judge, hits like 242. and he's cranking 62 home runs a year. I really don't know his average, but there are people, there are baseball players there. And so your mentality, you have to be mentally strong in baseball to go through the slumps, go through what these major league, any baseball player will tell you they go through, because there'll be ranges where you can't see it and you can't get a hit for your life. So I love baseball because I grew up playing baseball in Nicaragua, and Nicaragua being a third world country, there's a lot of poverty there. And I grew up playing with impoverished kids, and these impoverished kids couldn't afford a baseball mitt or a baseball bat. All they could afford was to show up at a baseball field, which basically it's an open field that we would create the diamond out of, plastic bags and shit. And we would play ball. And we would play ball for hours, man. Hours during the summer. We would start playing ball at 7 a.m. and not finish till the sun came down. And so back when I was going through this shift mentally, right, I started asking myself better questions. One of those questions was, when were you the happiest? What made you the happiest? And one of those things was playing baseball. So playing baseball made me happy, and playing baseball, I can no longer do if, at a high level. I could probably go out, I joined the summer league here and there, but it's not something that I could probably do actively every single day. But what else can I do? I can help the kids that are in Nicaragua achieve the dream that I had. And my dream was to play Major League Baseball when I was a kid. Like, dude, I would literally sleep with my baseball mitt and my baseball glove every single night when I was a young kid. But so now I use part of the success that I'm having to help me funnel what I'm passionate about, which is baseball, and helping kids in Nicaragua get the opportunity to sign with Major League Baseball. I actually, I don't know if you can see, but there is a map right behind me. Let me see if I can do something here. Well, that map right there, that's a piece that I won at an auction, and it's the map of Nicaragua made out of used baseball, and it's a one of one. There's no other one like it.
That's awesome, man. That's beautiful.
The proceeds went to the nonprofit called Helping Kids Round First, where we bring used baseball equipment to Nicaragua, and we distribute baseball equipment all across the country. And then I got connected to a coach, a former minor league baseball player, whose name is Johnny, and he had this academy called Trabajando por un Sueño, which translates to Working for a Dream Baseball Academy. And so that's where the Working for a Dream podcast name came from. That's where the Working for a Dream, I would say, motto that I live by comes from. And we are literally working to help these kids achieve their dreams. What's funny is the food truck industry is kind of the same. Everybody that comes through our door has a dream of owning a food truck. So I think everybody's working on a dream, man. Let me show you something cool, though.
Yeah, please. Man, this is good stuff.
So this is an article that came out on MLB.com, and it's about our baseball academies team that made it to the RBI World Series. RBI World Series is a World Series that's held by Major League Baseball. It's at a global level, so countries have to qualify for. These kids traveled to Puerto Rico, beat Puerto Rico to make it to the World Series, and they got a full paid trip to Vero Beach, Florida to participate. They got third place. We had the best pitching there, but we didn't have the best hitting. We were just facing some pretty big kids. Nicaraguan kids need to eat better, so we're going to work on that. But they did a hell of a job.
Patrick, that's amazing, man. It's like you're one of those guys where if you set a goal, you freaking do it. Like I remember when you started your podcast a couple years ago and we first connected, you were talking about all this stuff, and now to see how much you've done. Like I knew obviously you would take action because you're an action taking dude, but just how much action you've taken is super inspiring, man. It's like there's no way you're not gonna achieve this goal. You know what I'm saying? Like it's happening. Yeah. It's happening. It's amazing, man. That's beautiful.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
That's beautiful. I want to ask you this.
Johnny.
We've probably got time for, I think, about one more question. I want to ask you this. There's a lot of people, as you might know, who are in jiu-jitsu who they're very entrepreneurial. Like I meet a lot of guys who are younger, you know, in their 20s. And they have ambitions of being an entrepreneur, of working for themselves, you know, having a business, not working a 9 to 5. And a lot of people in jiu-jitsu, you know, they're hard workers. They're thinking outside of the box. A lot of times they're not bought into, you know, the mainstream narrative. So, you know, they, from a mental perspective, they really do kind of have what it takes to actually succeed. So let's say there's someone listening to this and they're kind of in that boat, regardless of their jiu-jitsu experience. They might be a white belt or a blue belt or something like that, but they're a white belt entrepreneur. They have no idea where to start. Like, what would you say to that person? Just any words of wisdom from where you're sitting.
I would say take action, massive action. Massive action is the most important part. Get through the shit the fastest possible. There's going to be things that you're going to mess up, learn from it, but keep taking action. You will only lose if you quit. And for some reason, I've been hearing that a lot lately. Over the past few days, it's been a theme in my life, listening to my mentors like Andy Frisella say it. My friends like Jeff Smith said it the other day. He shared it on Instagram. I saw it on another post. I shared it myself. That just reminds me, universe is aligned, right? Especially the people that are doing cool things. And two, you will only lose if you quit, bro. Same thing in jiu-jitsu. You will only lose if you quit. You want to win that tournament? You will only lose if you tap, bro. Or you get choked. Or you get submitted. So you will only lose if you quit. And that same mentality that you have in jiu-jitsu, you got to take it into the real world, into your life, and into your business. Just keep going, man. Just keep going. And if you fail at something, learn from it, apply what you learned, and go.
I think that's great, man. I love that. I've heard that a black belt is just a white belt that never stops showing up for class and just never quit and never stop coming.
That's awesome.
Just to dwell on this for 1 second longer. I feel like there's so much misinformation out there these days. Like, it's so easy for people to get down some rabbit hole chasing after some new shiny object, you know, some get rich quick scheme, I guess. What's a way that someone could be able to tell one, like a legitimate business opportunity that you should actually pursue versus something that's just a waste of your freaking time and it's just not going to take you anywhere? Like, is there any decision-making process that you would apply to that?
Yeah. If it's easy, if they promise you quick results and high returns without doing work, run, bro. Run. But if they tell you the truth, they're going to say, this is going to be a lot of fucking work and it's going to take time. And you're not going to see any results for the next 6 months or a year. Then that's when you know you're in the right place. If someone sells you a pipe dream with massive results without doing the work, run away, brother. Run as fast as you can and find something that is hard to do, that's going to require effort, that's going to take time, and you can build it. You know, that's what I would say, how you can differentiate those pretenders.
You want to work on something that is real. I mean, for lack of a better word,
tangible.
Yeah, tangible, man. And I feel like that just summarizes everything. Like what you just said, it takes us back to the start of this conversation when you were saying that you did jiu-jitsu because you wanted to pursue something that was hard. Specifically, you knew it was going to be hard.
Yeah.
And that's what called you, was you were looking for the difficulty. So again, we see this similarity between jiu-jitsu, between business, between all these things. You know, take responsibility, do the thing that's hard, and don't freaking make excuses. Don't quit. Don't give up. I mean, it sounds simple, but it's not. It's not easy to do. That's why most people aren't millionaires, because it's not easy to never give up and do all the hard shit that no one else wants to do. But Patrick, this has been fucking amazing conversation. Yeah, just let us know anything you want to end on, or yeah, tell us a little bit about, you know, where people can find you and what you got going on these days.
Paul, I appreciate you bringing me on, bro. It's always good to jam with you. I'm glad we got connected again. People can find me on Instagram at Patrick Bolanos HTX. If you know somebody looking for a food truck, then you know the dream food truck or trailer that they want to start, at Trailer King Builders. Our nonprofit is Helping Kids Round First. You can find it online, helpingkidsroundfirst.org. You can make donations there. And our academy is Working for a Dream Baseball Academy, and you can find it on Instagram. Just search Working for a Dream Baseball Academy. Appreciate the time, bro.
Yeah, anytime, man. And if you do have a minute, would you be able to tell us just a little bit more about the food truck industry, just in case there is someone listening? Because I know that that's super hot now, right at this moment. Like, let's say there's someone interested who does want to get in touch about getting a food truck. Can you tell us just a little bit, about that, or maybe what this person should be thinking about?
I'll give you a quick rundown of what it takes to start a food truck business. The first thing you should look at is the permitting process in your area. That's probably the most important part. If you live in LA, if you live in Houston, if you live in Florida, anywhere in Florida, learn what it takes to get a permit first. Get those guidelines, get familiar with them, get familiar with those guidelines, and then look for a builder that you trust, that you can ask questions. And if you need help with funding, if you need help with other that stuff, our company helps the entire process. We want to educate people in this industry to make the right decision, to go with the right builder at the right time, to get the permits, because we want people to succeed in this industry. It's a really hard industry to succeed in, just like it's really hard to succeed in anything. But this one is a little bit harder, I think. It's a lot of hard work, physical hard work. Oh, you should probably do jiu-jitsu if you're in the food truck industry. It'll help with your mental game and your physical attributes.
I actually just was in Kansas City last weekend, and I stopped at a acai food truck, and lo and behold, the guys running it were both big jiu-jitsu fans. They both trained, and
awesome.
This one guy had a grip like a fucking Yeti. It was like, man, this guy had one of those bear claw like grips where you just shook his hand and you were like, oh crap, let me never mess with this food truck. But Patrick, man, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate you being generous with your time. If you're listening to this, I'm going to put all the links that Patrick mentioned. They're all going to be down below. If you want to check it out, make sure you subscribe to the Working for a Dream podcast and support what Patrick's doing. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate you, brother.
Much love.